As a Muslim woman, it's been incredible to see that people who are like me are in positions of power and are going to do great things to make change. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Rashida Tlaib.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I cannot wait to see his face when he sees me on the United States floor of the Congress. I mean, can you imagine? So many of you don't even know the story of my relationship with the person as the candidate. And I don't say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. And so what was incredible is, like, I was there in this conference center in downtown Detroit. And, it was 12 women and myself was one of them. And we all were so frustrated because the group that was hosting was it was a corporate, like a kind of a business-led kind of group. It was the first time they wouldn't let us ask questions. And this was a candidate at the time. He was running for president of the United States. We can't ask questions. And so each one, every 2 minutes, got up and asked a question around sexual harassment, around immigration, around labor rights, around so many issues. So when it was my turn, I think I was like the 7th person, and I got up. I had not told my mother. I had not told anybody. And I got up, and I was like so upset, and I was scared because you should know, if you ever watch the video, and there's a longer version of this, and they showed it a little bit in this video, but as we all kept getting up, it was the crowd. They were kicking us. They pulled one of the girls' hairs. The crowd, I mean, these are people in business suits. This is Detroit Economic Club. These are they led corporations. They're executives. And you just saw them become so violent towards us, protesting and doing one of the most American thing you can do, which is speak up about your issues, about the fact that you feel like you're being targeted by this person who wants to be president of our country. And so when I got up, because they said, you could ask whatever you want, Rashida. I was like, okay. So I yelled, have you ever read the United States Constitution? And I literally just read it. And if you ever watch, I'm literally going like this and like this. It's Palestinian to me. And so I was like running through the crowd and making sure that Secret Service couldn't get to me until I shouted it a few times. And I remember as they pulling me out and so forth that, I got, of course, I'm the eldest of 14, mashallah. And so one by one, my brother Rashid, there's a Rashid, a Rashad, and a Rashida in the family. So my brother Rashid, he goes, sis, did you just get arrested? I'm like, no, I'm fine. They just took my name. I'm fine. He goes, Wallah, Yamma is so mad. And I was like, Khalas, I'll call her in a minute, because I didn't tell my mom. And I didn't realize it was going to get national, people, so it said former Representative Rashida Tlaib is thrown out. And so my mom is so upset, she's calling everybody else except me. And so, because she knows she's trying to calm down. And my other brother, Nader, is calling me. He's like, sis, I'm so proud of you. I was like, oh, for what? That's how he talks. And I said, I do civil disobedience all the time, like the billionaire issue, the Koch brothers. You should know, it wasn't a bill I passed. It was because I trespassed onto the property and got samples to get it tested by an independent lab. And so I've done civil disobedience and never really, nobody ever paid attention until I ran for the United States Congress. And so my brother goes, nah, sis, I'm just so proud of you. And I was like, I've done stuff like this, Nader, and plus you like him. And he goes, I just like how he talks. He talks like this. I said, whatever. And then I was like, he's like, but sis, what makes me proud is every single other woman, it was 2 Secret Service. You know how you needed 6 to take you out. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, okay, say mashallah, But what is so inspiring is, if you knew my Siti Shama, Hajja Shama, who, was from Beit Hanina in Palestine. She was a type of woman, yes. She was this incredible strength, a force of nature. And I don't know how to explain to you. There's the jiddos and the sittos that are just like, the aunties that are like quiet, more graceful. No, mine wasn't. She was just hardcore. If you said no to her, Ammo, she'd go find out where your mother lived. She'd knock on her door and say, you matrabatishu ibn shimniya. You did not raise your son right. And she'd go back and say, nah, I talked to your mother, now give me like whatever I need. And so she was incredible inspiration. And I remember being this little girl, not realizing, that sometimes she was a little bit, people are like, oh my God, makwaha, kawi, and all this stuff. And she would just be such an amazing strength. And I grew up just around this woman, this strong Arab woman who never went to school, didn't even read or write Arabic, English, anything. From Palestine, she went to Nicaragua, found more poverty. And then she came to Detroit with, these 2 little kids and everything. And I remember, one time she asked me, she goes, Sitti, تعالي. I said, what Sitti, And she always, because usually she'll tell me to hide my money. I don't, they خبي مصاريتك, خبيهن. And that's what she always used to say. And I was like, okay, Sitti, خبين من جوزك. ما تخليش حدا يعرف وين مصاري. It's like, yes, Sitti. But she goes, شو بتعملي؟ انتي دايما تشتغلي. You're always working. What do you do? And I told her, مثل ولاية. I'm like a state representative. مثل ولاية. شو هذا? I said, and I'm trying to explain to my grandmother who doesn't understand the politics. And I said, Mahami, oh, mashallah, Mahamiya. And that's all she understood. She had no idea. But the incredible thing that this woman probably has no even clue at the time, Allah yarhamha. Like, she hated bullies. Ya Jama'ah, if anybody, even if it's you, sister, and she did not know who you were, even if you were Muslim or not Muslim, it didn't matter to her, Arabiya or not. If somebody was like, dissing you or doing something bad to you, she would come from across the room and yell at the person that was dissing you. I'm serious. And she just did not like bullies. She hated when people said no to her. And I don't think she realized she prepared me for the biggest bully of the history of this country. Like, she has no idea. But I'll tell you what's incredible, even more inspiring. And I told this to Brother Bassem. I said to even Hassan today, I said, what's so amazing about Sister Ilhan and I is that we don't represent an Arab community or Muslim community or Somali. We don't. She represents 70% white community that elected her. Overwhelmingly, my community is 60% African American, 40% white. I have maybe like 5% Arab. Not that much, but I want you to be inspired and give you hope that it was non-Muslim, non-Arab that elected us, that made us, made history. And that to me is something that I want the young girls, I want the young people to know. Like, it doesn't matter where you live, even if you don't have to change anything about yourself. Nothing. Even when I was going door to door, they're like, where are you from? The from. And I'm like, no, Palestine. Oh, Pakistan. I've been there. I've heard of Pakistan. And you move on. But you know what they remember when you talk to people is how you make them feel. That you care. And I desperately care. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was everything, all of his teachings, everything I learned in the Quran school before they kicked us out of Quran school. I told Hassan all about that because my brother Nadir, troublemaker. And I can tell you, it wasn't me, Wahidullah, it was him. And I can tell you, even then, everything was centered around justice, around taking care of those in need. Like, everything about Islam is about action and speaking up and not being silent. And what I love is that even as I was going door to door, I don't know how to explain it. They knew, some knew, I was Muslim or Arab and Rashida. They knew, but what they would remember is like, the things that I've done. Like, even when I was going door to door, a lot of people would say, you're the Coke girl. I'm like, I don't, it sounds bad. But, the girl that jumped over the pile, trespassing, got the Ziploc bags and got it tested because even before Flint, before they were poisoning children, the state was telling me it wasn't toxic. How are you telling me this black stuff is not toxic? And so something drove me to say, I have to do it. I have to just go and just get it done, even though what I did to Trump when he came to Cobo Hall, and what I did to my own colleagues, and I had, over 109 of my colleagues in the House, they were like, here's Rashida, whatever. But honestly, I gained more respect from them after so many years doing that and being unwavering. I didn't change anything about myself. And yes, I wore the suits. I went to committee. I behaved. But when I got back to my community, I just felt like there was this drive of like, am I going to wait until a bill passes? Yani, these are years I can't get back from my residents. They have to breathe this stuff in. I don't know what, so this sense of like, I have to do it now. And because that is how I was able to inspire so many people to understand that I will go above and beyond what in so many ways, rooted in Islam, rooted in being Palestinian, rooted in being Arabiya, rooted in being a woman, being a mother, and so many things are the things that define me, that drive me to speak up. And so I want to ask you, as you all, when the youth were up here, which is Jihad and all of them, when they were up here, I thought I was so proud of hearing the numbers and the things, the engagement. But I want us to go even bigger. And inshallah, you raise more money and the capacity gets bigger. Because you know what? I want you to turn out the vote in all communities. I want us to be calling all of our neighbors in Fresno, not just the Muslimin. I want us to be talking to all of them. I know you did that, but I want everyone in this room to know that that's something we should fund and support. It doesn't always have to be about, and it's okay, but to me, that exposes Islam in such a profound way, because we are helping other people to be able to speak up and other people to get access to the polling location. And so I want you guys to go beyond there. I remember a sister in the Flint Masjid, and I was there, and it was during the time that Ben Carson was, he went to my high school, and I try not to tell people about that. I know. Yani, Allah, astaghfirullah. Anyway, so I was like, I literally sat there and I was talking about how they were like telling about how Dr. Ben Carson was like, oh, you shouldn't be able to run for president as a Muslim and all this stuff. And, there's young sister, she's about 18, 19 years old. She raises her hand and she said, Sister Rashida, I just don't. And there was Congress members there at the time. And I was just out of the legislature and I was running a campaign to take on hate. And she said, how come nobody's saying anything? I said, what do you mean? She goes, look at everything they're saying about us and the cartoon and all so many things at that time during the election was so bad, you guys. I mean, it was, people are forgetting, but I remember everything, the things that people ran on, and it was about us. And I said, sister, I want us to pause for a moment and just be still and just understand, like, what did we say when he called Mexicans rapists? Nothing sometimes, honestly. Maybe Bassem said something or Hassam, but we were silent, even on social media, even a little bit of movement from our community to speak up when he attacks others or anybody attacks others. Speak up, because that's what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would have done. Honestly, his whole teachings was about like race relations. He was talking about race relations before it became popular to talk about, like you hear it all constantly. And so when people are talking about police brutality, when people are talking about caging children and separating them from their families, speak up more, please. Share through your network. Speak up. Say things beyond just our community. And it's important to be centered with our community, engaging our community, but let it be wider and broader. Because when I go door to door, when I do the service center work, when I do all those things, I absolutely love the fact that people are still like, is she really Muslim? Like on Jed, they actually come in. When I was a state rep, and this 83-year-old senior citizen asked one of my caseworkers, William, is she really Muslim? Because William would come up to you and goes, man, I got that question again. I was like, which one? And he's like, if you're really Muslim, because people are taken aback. They just know us in certain roles. They don't know us in any other way. And so I just want you to know, to challenge that. That's how you're going to do it, is through action. And alhamdulillah, when it's time to feed the needy, it's time to do all these incredible, that's wonderful. But also be more around advocacy beyond the direct services, right? Do powerful, profound things like that. And mashallah, you're going to see it change how people see us in such an impactful way. I promise you that. And you already see it. You probably do now in a lot of the work that you do. Pastor Stephen Bland, African American pastor in my district, I was in his church doing a visit. And I felt like he was looking right at me when he said this, but he said, we're not a country that's divided. We're a country that's just disconnected. And I believe in so many ways that our community has to remember that we're just disconnected. We're not divided. And mashallah, like I can tell you every single being that I connected, 55,000 doors. Dr. Ashraf asked me, how did you do it? I said, 55,000 doors, brother, 55,000 doors. And I can tell you, as we push through, you all think, well, mashallah, look, I did really well in the general, but in the primary, do you know how much we won by? 900 votes. That's how I beat in my election was during the primary. So we got a lot of work to do, of course, and I'm going to continue, but it's because I had a person doing constituent services as I went door to door because I wanted people to get a flavor of what I would do. Because I tell people, I'll introduce Medicare for all, and doctors talk to me later about it. Everybody always comes up to me right after. I can tell you all of these really progressive issues that I'll be working on and introducing bills, but to me, all of these things, yes, all of those things have to go hand in hand in getting people through everyday issues because they can't wait until I get them access to pass Medicare for all. I have to get them access to quality health care today because those are years I can't get back for my residents. And so those are the things that I exposed people to when I went door to door. So it wasn't just the mailers and the phone calls and the commercials and all these things that were part of the campaign, but it was also showing them the importance that I was going to be centered around service. And, you know, Hassan said something and I thought something I got to write because for me, you know, I'm a social justice advocate. And, you know, my grandmother lives in me in so many ways. And so I don't like when people pick on the poor. I don't like when people pick on somebody with the accent, all of those things. And it just, that's what drives me to run. That's what drives me towards public service in so many ways. And it all happens when I'm angry. It's actually good. That's how I channel my anger. No, well, I have a lot of anger right now. So it channels my anger. And I keep thinking, you know, yes, alhamdulillah, I'm a first. Alhamdulillah, yani all of those things. And I am proud. You have no idea how proud I am. But I'm not, like, focused on that. Like, I'm just not, you know? But then there's one moment that a young girl in Sacramento came up to me, Rian, and she had this like regular shirt on, and then she had this blazer on her. And I was like, Rian, nice blazer. Like, you look different. Like, she goes, I'm trying to look like you. And I was teared up. And I said, forget Congress, girl. You got to run for president. And she goes, uh-huh. And I thought to that moment, right? That moment, I swear, I said at that moment, because you remember that moment you're tired and everything. I remember at that moment, I'm like, because it's such hard work to run for office. And I thought to myself at that moment, okay, like this girl's like, forget Congress, I'm going to run for president. Like, she believes it now because she sees someone like her in Congress. And even today when Jeananne came up to me and she goes, oh, I'm doing this, Jeananne's like doing a culture class or something. She's doing it on me. Janine. I'm sorry, Janine. And stand up, Janine Habibti, stand up. She's so cute. And so she's doing this. She's doing this like paper on me or something for her class, a project. And I tested her. I was like, how many brothers and sisters I have? She goes, 13. And I said, good job. But I know that if she's looking and seeing that I didn't speak English when I started school, that I came from a very, very poor family. Like, you know, mashallah, our Muslim community is so educated, and so, but my parents my dad only had 4th grade education, my mother 8th grade education. So I'm the first in high school, everything. Mashallah, my mom is still in disbelief that I'm going to be United States Congresswoman. She is amazed. And you should see her. You should see her. So I'm at orientation, and she's like, Mama, this is how she calls. She goes, Mama, shufti? I was like, who, Mama? I know who she's talking about. I was like, shufit mean, who did I see? She goes, did you see him? And I was like, Mama, Trump is not walking around. Like, I'm not going to run it. Because she's just so worried, because no matter what, she'll always be my mother. No matter what, she's still worried about me. Like, I was like, Mama, I actually have more oversight over him. Like, I have power. I'm teaching my mother. And I was like, Mama, I even reading this book about impeachment. She goes, Shuha the impeachment. And I'm teaching my mom about impeachment, people. Like, it's amazing. But what is incredible is I tell my colleagues these stories about my mother. And I was like, you know, I'm going to stay grounded because I have this amazing immigrant mother that's like totally like, you know, for me to even be able to talk about issues, I'm like, if my mom can't understand it, I'm not going to talk about it that way, right? And so it's really, really incredible. I'm going to leave you with one other thing. You know, there is so much hope with Ilhan, myself, and so many of these incredible rainbow of women coming into the United States Congress with me, and I don't feel alone, alhamdulillah. And I can tell you, like, Grace Lee Boggs, who's an organizer in Detroit, would say things like, you know, the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement, it didn't start in the White House, it didn't start in Congress, it started out in the community. It really did. And so all this movement work, everything that you have your hopes and dreams, just because Ilhan and I are there doesn't mean, no, we need you to be continuing doing that movement work, pushing back against police brutality, pushing back against the Muslim ban, because that is what's going to fuel us to be able to have the power to change all of those unbelievable and un-American policies. So know that you are the agents of change, like they say. Honestly, if you look at anything historical that has ever happened, it started with people outside of the White House and outside of Congress. I'll leave you one last story about my mother. Ya Rabbi, I love her. You know, my mom, I always tell people, my mom is this type of person, Allah shfiha ya Rab. She is this type of person, she sees somebody, you know, asking for money, like begging for money in the corner. And she always looks at me and she goes, Mama, I wonder haram, I wonder what happened to him. She never judges. She always wonders, like, what happened. That compassion that's in her is so rooted in her. And my dad, you know, he was different. It's like somebody hits you, you hit him back. You know, he's like, Mom, my grandma, that's his mother. The grandmother raised him. And so, you know, when my mother sees this video that her friends show her of me getting pulled out, arrested, she goes, Habasuj. I said, Mama, they didn't put me in jail. Took me out of the Kobo house. She goes, she goes, why? She's crying to me. Why does it have to be you? Why always you? Why are you always causing so much trouble? And I, you know, after a day or so, I think she went to Salat al-Jum'ah. So she goes to Salat al-Jum'ah, and all her friends are there, and they're like, MashaAllah an bintik, your daughter, mashallah, she's so strong, she's so this. So she calls me later on that day, and she goes, Yama. I says, yeah, Mama, sure. She goes, Allah, I'm proud of you. I said, I can't sit there proud of me because you got proud of me after you talked to all the sisters at the masjid that were like, your daughter's kick ass. Like, she's really awesome. And all of a sudden, so my mom is just an incredible inspiration, keeps me grounded. And mashallah, like, think about this moment. It is your moment too. I want you to know it is such an incredibly humbling experience. Every time I walk up during the orientation, I see the Capitol. I could have never imagined ever, ever, ever that this could have been possible, honestly, even when I was running. But no, it was fellow Americans, honestly, people that didn't share our faith. That should give you all so much tremendous drive and hope that we are going to be able to change our country for better, probably create the America we still have not lived. And so thank you all so much. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you for all the care staff and everybody that fights. Saad, you need help. Dude, let me know when you're filing more cases. To keep going. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.